Okay.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Perfect. So today we have sleep. Okay. As the title says, in my opinion, right, the most underrated tool for fat loss, energy, and metabolic health. When we think about losing weight, getting our health right, most of the time the one that we miss is sleep. So I wanted to touch base on this one that is extremely, extremely important. I'm sure that everyone's coach mentions it when you're not sleeping enough. So let's jump right on it. Okay, so first of all, why does sleep matters, right? Why is sleep important? The number one thing, right? It regulates our hormones, right? And basically the hunger hormones. So when we um, so the release of the hormone, right, when we sleep, right, the GH renin goes down and the leptin goes up. I don't want to get too technical, but basically the hormones that control our hunger. Sleep is also really, really important, because it supports fat loss and muscle recovery. um, I don't know if you all know about this, but we actually build muscle while we sleep. Okay, so it's really, really important to get sleep in. It also helps with mood, right? Discipline and decision making, right? When we don't sleep, we feel irritated, right? Mood swings. We have better energy when we sleep, right? Our cravings are lower. And also, is as I said at the beginning, extremely, extremely important and one of the three pillars for metabolism and long term health. So, right, the opposite, right? What does it happen when we don't sleep enough, right? Cortisol spikes, so we face life stress in terms of higher cortisol levels, right? That, as a consequence, makes us have higher fat storage, right? Um, Wrapping up a little bit from what I just mentioned in terms of what sleep controls, right? Increased hunger, emotional eating, those cravings hit, right? We are tired, right? So when we go for a workout, we have lower performance levels. Low energy, right? And one extremely, extremely important, we are at risk of um, and more likely to get injured because we are not awake enough in terms of performing at our best, right? With that said, recovery is going to be slower, right? We're not focused enough. We get irritated, as I mentioned. Those mood swings happen uh, all the time, right? Um, so yeah, that's why it's really important. That's what happens when we don't get enough sleep. So this is really important because basically we all have a watch and we try to well we track our sleep, right? And who has faced that you see your sleep cycle and you have no clue about what it is it like someone has faced that on the past. E close. I've been there too. Like I had no clue. First time I tracked my sleep, said REM and one and two. So basically, this is what I bring this, right? How can we understand a little bit better the sleep cycle? So here we have, I'll explain it in a little bit, a graph that tracks sleep. This is really, really good sleep pattern, right? Usually it does not look like that. But basically, sleep cycles last like 90 minutes. More or less, right? Really depends on the person. We usually get 4 or 6 times this cycle. per night, right? And it's four different phases, right? We have stage 1, 2, and 3 that are non-REM. So basically, REM is rapid eye movement. I don't know if anyone has seen a video where someone is sleeping and you see the eyes moving. So that's exactly the phase that is REM, right? REM sleep. So basically, if we break it down in terms of the three stages that are non-REM, right? We have stage 1, that is light sleep. It's when we're transitioning into sleep, our muscles relax a little bit. It's really easy to wake up. So if a noise happen or something is going on, like you're most likely going to wake up, right? Then we transition to stage 2, that is also really light sleep, right? It's when we start seeing those physiological changes in our body. So our temperature drops, our heart rate drops, right? Is light sleep, not very stable. Once again, not that hard to wake up from, and we usually spend like 50% of the time during this phase, right? Then we have stage 3, that is the previous one, to enter the REM, but it's still non-REM. So it's basically when we actually recover, when the growth hormone release, when we repair muscle. It helps us with immune function, right? When we don't sleep enough, also our immune support is like way lower. This one is the stage where we start having a hard time to wake up, right? For example, if we wake up in stage 3 or REM sleep, is when we feel tired, right? So that's the last phase before entering the REM sleep. That is where we dream, right? Is when we recover mentally. That's the number one thing, right? And here we can see in the graph, right? In white is the phase 1. In that's pink, the second phase. Do you see my pointer? I'm not sure if you see that one. Purple, stage 3, and a little bit darker purple, the REM, right? So as you see it, here's where the sleep cycles start. We have light sleep, then we transition to stage 2, stage 3, right? And then we transition to REM. So basically, this is how we cycle. This is basically one cycle, it finishes and it starts another one, and this is basically getting those 90 minutes cycles, right? Someone has a question like, makes a little bit more sense. I know it's a little bit tricky to understand, so I hope that was clear enough. The next time we see that graph popping up, you at least know a little bit better what it does mean. So really, really important for us, right? How does exercise affect our sleep? One of the main things that I want to mention, right? Usually when we face someone that has issues to sleep, the first step to take, right? Start moving a little bit more. Maybe you're getting to bed and you're not tired enough, right? The difference that you can see when you actually move more, when you work out, for example, you start getting, as a consequence, better sleep, right? We are nowadays, like, we tend to spend too much time sitting down, and there's days that we do not spend the energy that our body needs for the day, right? That's when we get to bed and we're not tired. We are all the day watching screens, for example, sitting down and not moving, right? We are meant to move. So that's something to pay attention to, right? So basically, how does it affect it? In a positive way, right? It reduces stress and anxiety, right? It raises sleep pressure. So sleep pressure is basically, I don't know how to explain it, pretty simple, but it's how you the pressure that you get to be able to, that the body asks you to sleep specifically. So when you're awake a long period of time, that pressure starts adding up, right? So when we sleep, that pressure drops, right? Because we enter another cycle of sleep. So it's basically easier to fall asleep. Um, what does exercise also does is improves the sleep quality. Who has noticed after exercising getting a good night's sleep finally? I experience it all the time when I get new clients after first workout or after their first steps that are getting in that they get a good night's sleep. Who has experienced that before? Raise your hand. Well, if someone sends me something in the chat, I'll go through it really quick. Okay, just raise your hand so I see you. Um, so basically, when we get into a cycle that we are really consistent with working out, right? Our sleep starts getting used to that, right? The cycles become more consistent because we are getting used to that. Our body needs to recover from that. So that's how also sleep helps us. Um, how exercise helps us with sleep, right? Something to keep in mind, right? Sometimes for convenience, we tend to rely on late night workouts, which are not bad, but it can start messing up um, with the sleep. So if that's the case, start paying attention a little bit to that. Okay, for sure, avoid pre-workout and caffeine late night. We're going to talk about that too. Um, so extremely important, right? How does nutrition affects our sleep? First part, we have the positive things on how can nutrition affect um, sleep, right? And then we have the negative ones, right? So basically, if we're having a good meal, right, with protein, with carbs, it's going to help us recover through the night, right? Let's say that we're not having enough fuel before sleep. We wake up, for example, being hungry, right? That's something that we want to avoid, right? So having a good meal before bed is really important to recover and not to wake up, right? This is something that I also explain to my clients, right? When we are planning to improve our health, we say, well, we got to increase the water. I'm not drinking enough water, right? But water, if we start drinking it in the evening, we're going to wake up to take a piss in the middle of the night, right? And we don't want to mess up our sleep cycle for that. So extremely important, right? That hydration is load up by the beginning of the day, right? And then start minimizing it by the end of the day and keep it to the bare minimum, right? We want to avoid breaking those cycles by waking up to pee, okay? They are really important, right? Limiting caffeine after 2 p.m., really depending on your night sleep. I tend to suggest that eight, six, in between 6 or 8. Sometimes for people that struggle with caffeine, my case, right, I try to limit it 10 hours before bedtime because I know that caffeine mess ups my sleep, right? The other thing that can help us, magnesium, right? You can find magnesium in certain foods, but also you can supplement. Magnesium helps us relax and get into that um, good night's sleep, right? Um, how can we mess up sleep, right? How nutrition can negatively impact and hurt our sleep. So basically, having a really large meal before bed, right? Um, Basically, when we have a big meal before bed, what happens is the body cannot take the time and cannot put sleep as a priority because first it has to digest the food, right? So it starts messing up with our sleep cycle and our recovery. Um, that's why, for example, when we have a really late dinner, we wake up feeling the next day as trash and we couldn't sleep. Or sometimes, what happens to me when I have a late night dinner, I cannot like feel that I sleep. I had deep sleep, right? Has anyone experienced that? We're going to also talk a little bit about myths moving forward, about carbs and that, that if it can affect sleep and so on. Has someone experienced that? Like having to push dinner earlier because it was messing up with their sleep?
Unfortunately, with my work schedule, it's all over the place sometimes. So it's eating is kind of a target of opportunity, whether it's early in the morning after being up all night or getting an early meal in before flying later in the afternoon. So kind of it's all over the place, unfortunately.
Do you feel like it affects your sleep when you eat late night?
Um, yeah, sometimes I like some because I sometimes I'd be flying like a red eye, and you're kind of forced to eat in the middle of the night around 2 in the morning,
Yeah,
and by the time you get to where you're landing, it's like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and the last thing I really want to do at that point is go have breakfast. I just want to go take a hot shower and go to bed and try to get as much sleep as I can. But at that point, your sleep schedule is already jacked up for that given period. So you just kind of have to kind of rework through it and try to get back onto a decent schedule the following days
yeah,
and
exactly.
eat in the meantime as well.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the right approach because you have to adapt to whatever schedule you have going on. That's the number one priority, right? Maybe you cannot have an early dinner, right? Because whatever you have going on, either if it's work, either if it's, I don't know, you have to take care of something else. So yeah, always the priority is like finding the time to fit it in your schedule, right? Making it happen. Once again, right? If we don't have that meal, we might wake up in the middle of the night feeling hungry, and it might be better to have that meal, right? Maybe a smaller meal, right? And loading up by the beginning of the day or snacking during the day. That's something that can be implemented as a technique to not have to catch up on calories by the end of the day, right? But yeah, I'm sure that with your coach you have worked on that one. But yeah, right. The one thing, if we are having caffeine, as I mentioned before, late night, it can really mess up with our sleep, right? Going back to taking pre-workout when you're having an evening workout, right? I would avoid it. I'm really, caffeine hits me really hard, right? I know that with caffeine late night, I cannot sleep. And that's something that is some people react different to caffeine. So it's something to keep in mind. But what we know is that caffeine, if you have it late night, it's going to be in your system. That's something that is going to be there. So keep it in mind, right? Um, Alcohol, right? Some people like to drink alcohol to relax a little bit. But the thing with alcohol is it that reduces the REM sleep, right? Going back to the cycles, like the mental piece of sleep, recovering from that, right? And the other thing that can affect our sleep is having those late night snacks or high sugars, those ice creams or whatever it is that can really affect our sleep, because you can get those blood sugar swings, those spikes that can wake you up in the middle of the night. So big one, right? Nowadays, like we all tend to spend time with screens, right? So basically, I wanted to share how sleep and screens, how screens affect sleep, right? So basically, what happens when we are facing screens is that the blue light or whatever light the blue light is the light that it comes from screen, whatever that screen is. It suppresses melatonin. Okay, melatonin is the hormone that tells the body like we need to sleep, right? We got to get going because we need to sleep, right? So basically, we get that light exposure, and the body instantly uh, suppresses that melatonin. So basically, we that desire to sleep goes away, right? So with this, it's important to think about like previous generations. They didn't have light, right? So when the sun went down, basically that was our sign to go to bed, right? The other thing, like doom scrolling, being in social media, right? It stimulates our mind. How many times have we listened that it releases dopamine, right? So that's something that keeps us awake. Um, the other thing, working really late night, right? We all have experienced that before, right? That stresses our body, right? That keeps us awake. Same thing with blue light, right? It wakes us up. Um, so one thing, there is a general rule that um, you got to work on. It's not like all of a sudden you need to do this, right? I suggest that you start cutting off like the blue lights before like 60 or 90 minutes before bed. That's ideal, right? If you've never done it in the past and you usually go to bed while using your phone, try 5 minutes at the beginning, right? 10 minutes, 15, whatever you feel capable to do. And maybe go and do something different. We're going to also talk about ways to build that sleep routine. Um, but one really easy swap that you can do that all the phones have it nowadays is like turning night shift mode, right? You can set it up. I don't know, for example, at 6 p.m., I want that night shifts to start turning on. You can always, the other thing that I do, I have it set um, for the morning, right? As soon as we wake up, if I have to do something for work, I don't go right away in terms of that. Um, okay, Greg sharing some great information about caffeine. Yeah, exactly. The 8 to 10 hours. Yeah, caffeine affects me a lot, so I just got it 10 hours, right? Only in the morning I do it. So, and this one is funny because it's like working on building that sleep cave. Um, you have it right there, right? A cozy environment. So basically, um, something really important that is also to keep in mind when we go to bed, it's also important that that gives a signal to our body that it has to sleep, or gives the sign that, well, it's time to go to bed, time to go to sleep. Something that is not good is, for example, lying on the bed and watching TV, because again, we're messing up with that signals that we send to the body, right? So that sleep cave needs to be clear for the body that, whoa, now it's time to sleep, right? One of the main things, I love this one because it helps me a lot, like keeping it in the temperature cool, right? When we are in a warmer temperature, is at least in my case or in general, right? It's really hard to fall asleep, right? So keeping the temperature cool is going to help a lot. Making it dark, right? If we're, for example, on night shifts, right? Or we're going to bed later and we wake up with the sun already going up, right? Um, Keep the room dark. Have a blackout curtains, sleep masks, whatever helps you, right? The other thing, this is important, right? Like keeping it quiet, or having some device that gives us white noise, right? Like rainfall, like forest, right? That's going to help you a lot with sleep. Some people like that. I cannot sleep with white noise, but that's something that you can give a try, right? If you haven't experienced it before. One thing that I really like is aromatherapy. So basically getting a diffuser or a pillow spray. I got an ointment that I use, right? I put in here in my pulse, so it helps me with that. You can pick lavender, chamomile, eucalyptus, right? Another thing that you can add in terms of that, it could be like a tea before sleep, right? The chamomile tea or sleep tea, right? Make sure that they do not have caffeine. Um, Something that is optional but useful, right? Having a supportive mattress, right? Or pillow. Number one thing is that it's comfortable for you, that you like that bed, that you can sleep well on that bed, right? Clean sheets, right? Ideally cotton or bamboo usually help a lot because it lets the body breathe, right? I actually sleep better one. Well, that's crazy. Can you, do you want to share that experience, Scott?
So
Yeah.
like when I go to bed, I have to be like completely dressed. Like when it comes to like even in the summertime, I'll wear sweats to bed because I just sleep better when my body when I'm warmer. If I feel like if I'm just a little bit cool, I
Oh, he's frozen, right?
Yeah, it happens on the Monday night calls because that's when he takes his walks.
He's walking, right?
Yeah.
Well, Greg mentions that the fun, yeah, white noise, right? Um, eye mask, perfect. Speakers, well, that's nice. sleep music, yeah, right. That white noise or whatever noise helps you. It also helps a lot with background. I don't know, for example, if you live in the city and you usually get waked up by cars or whatever, the trash track. That happens to me when I go to the city, right? But those things tend us to wake up. So having noise to be able to protect us is a really good idea too. Fan and window open. Yep. The fresh air is also a good one. Uh, Scott, you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. I was gonna
Yeah.
say, before my connection stopped, like even in the summertime, I'll wear sweats to bed because I just if I'm like the slightest bit cold, I feel like it keeps me up. But the second I bundle up, have the covers up and everything, I am out. And it's just I'm just the opposite of everybody, I guess. I'm just weird. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the first time I listen to that. But number one thing, listen to your body. Whatever works for you, keep doing it, right? Like don't follow the science. We got to listen to our body. That's the number one thing. We got to do the things that we know that helps us, right? So yeah, I love that. Has anyone listened to that before? Like someone that likes to sleep warm? I hate it, by the way. Like I cannot. But I wish I could, Scott. So that's a cool feature to have.
I never
Um,
understood the fireplace in the bedroom, or like, you see the fancy hotels and all of that, and they have a fireplace in the bedroom. And like, for what reason? Even this
I can
picture,
answer
there's a
that.
fireplace in the dang
yeah,
bedroom.
no, I
I can
picked it
answer
because
that.
it has a cave, but that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's
No,
I
why.
can I
it
can
looks
answer that.
wonderful. It looks beautiful and
It's very
relaxing.
easy. It's very easy to fall asleep in front of your fireplace. The crackling of the wood and the smell of it, and then the simple little bit of warmth you get, you just pass out like a drunk baby. I promise.
We need to give it a try then. But I don't know if it's a little bit dangerous, right? Like maybe with the fire going on or not. What would you say?
If there's a lot of wind outside coming down in the chimney, or like depending on which wood you have, if you don't
Yeah.
stack it right and it falls out, then yes, like that's why the ones in the houses all have glass doors or chains in front of them to keep the wood from falling out.
So one that is also really good to do, like everything that we do on the program has a purpose, right? So basically, mindfulness before sleep, um, as a conclusion, right? Even 2 minutes, even 1 minute, right? Start somewhere. Doesn't need to be perfect right away, right? Big goal is to calm the mind, right? When we have those thoughts going on or whatever that is keeping us from getting to sleep, right? Um, so basically, all of these and many more can help us quiet the mind, right? And basically shut down. This thing about sending the body signals to know that it needs to go to sleep, right? For example, journaling, for example, guided meditation. People that know me from some time know that I love Wim Hof, right? Wim Hof method, guided meditation. If anyone wants the link, I'll send them to them, right? A little bit before bed. It's going to make a big difference. The body relax. Same thing with, for example, like what I mentioned of having magnesium glycinate, right? It's going to relax the body and you will truly notice breathing, right? Whatever method you like. I added the 4-6. That's my favorite one. That's what my therapist taught me, right? You hold it for four. Sorry, you inhale in a count of four. You hold it for two, and you exhale in a count of six, right? You do it a couple of times. Once again, it does not need to be longer, but you will notice that big difference in terms of calming, relaxing, reading a little bit, right? I suggest that you do not read a topic uh, related to work. Um, so you read something that can help you really relax. Um, and also brain dump, right? Like writing things down to reduce those thoughts. Um, putting it on a piece of paper so you don't forget about that. Um, who wants to share what if they have done some mindfulness before bed, if they do it, if it helps them? Someone wants to share about it?
Yeah, I'll go, Tomas.
Yes, sir. What's up, Sam?
Yeah, there's two different people that live in my house, my wife and I. My wife can fall asleep on the drop of a pin, like she's out and she sleeps all night. Me, my mind races and I have to think of a million things the second I hit the pillow and I'm up for I used to be up for like an hour, hour and a half just laying there thinking. And you suggested uh this guy's book here, and then you also suggested that what works for me is the brain dump to reduce. I keep a pad of paper and a pen nearby, and when I start thinking of all these ideas and different things that I want to get done the next day and stuff that I can't do anything about when I'm laying in bed, I just dump them down on a piece of paper. Don't even worry about organization because when I first started, I tried to like organize it into like a chart and stuff, and then now I'm doing work. So I just dump down the ideas, get it out of my head. It's on the piece of paper. So when I wake up in the morning, I can look at it, then organize it, and it helps out tremendously. It used to take me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to fall asleep once I lay down. Now it takes me about 30 minutes maybe, but I'm still jealous of my wife. The second she stops moving, she's out. I've never been able to do that. She's magic.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling. Like my girlfriend is the same thing. My dad is like that. They sleep anywhere, like even in the couch.
Yeah.
I cannot like we need to when we face this is like we need to find ways on how to reduce it. And you did like dropping from 1 hour to 30 minutes is perfect, right? And that's going to start getting better if you apply a little bit more of the things that I'm mentioning is 100% going to get better, right? Not chasing that perfection, but basically adding things on top. Who else wants to share some things on the chat? Guided meditation, Dan Brule.
I've got one.
Yes, Kat, please.
Mine's actually a two-parter, so I address both the physical and then the mental. Every night, regardless of what I've done, I take a hot shower and I just let the water run over, everything just to like let the day go. And I've been doing that for quite some time now. And when I do it, it's like my body is not excited, but it's like, oh, it's that time. It's time to just wind down. We're going to bed soon. And then, so my body is already physically preparing to be sleeping. And then, as I put in the chat, I listen to stories, and I'm weird, but I like Warhammer 40,000. So I put on a specific channel, and it sounds just like David Attenborough. And I don't care what the story is. I don't hear half of it anyway. Like as soon as he starts talking, I'm gone. That's all.
Excellent. Yeah, those night routines, right, are really important. As you mentioned, the shower. We're going to talk about it like moving forward. I'll give you a couple of tricks that you can add on top of that. But that's exactly what I meant, right? Having that routine, doing something to send the body signals to be able to relax, right? Easy things to do before bed, right? To get the body going, to build that routine, right? Warm shower, my favorite one, right? I always need to take a shower before bed because it's a game changer, right? And then get into that, for me, it's like cold temperature room, and it's perfect, right? You can do even some light stretching, mobility, whatever you like, right? Something off the screens, like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, start there, start small, right? Bedtime routine ritual, right? It can have, as I said, like brushing the teeth, showering, writing things down, whatever, right? Try to keep it simple. So you give the body those signals that it's time to go to bed. Lowering lights, right? Using the glasses, and that block blue light. That's also one that you can start applying, right? Throwing the phone through the window. Like if you know that that stresses you, get the phone, shut it off, like keep it off, right? The other thing, as we mentioned, like setting up the room, whatever you're using, that cold temperature, that aromatherapy, whatever it is that you do, like the curtains, it's going to help tons, right? This is a question that I get all the time, and I when clients that do struggle with sleep and do not get sleep, I'm on the ass about that. So basically, what we need, what science says, that basically for the bare minimum that we need is 6 hours of sleep. That's what science says, right? So basically, what we've seen with research is that below 6 hours of sleep, everything drops substantially, right? Metabolic health, um, recovery, building muscle, right? Optimal range, bare minimum, as I said, 6 hours of sleep, optimal, really depending on how you feel, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That's what research says. Anywhere below 5 hours is not supported. But basically, this is when we go back to the pillars, right? Activity levels, nutrition. If we get everything locked in, right? Workouts, activity levels, steps, whatever, they are locked in, and nutrition, everything's perfect. If we're sleeping less than what we should, it's going to make way harder our progress, right? So that's something to keep in mind. That's a key takeaway. How important is sleep, right? How much of a difference sleep can make during this weight loss journey, fat loss journey, or building muscle journey. Okay. Um, so moving forward, night sleep routine starts with what we do in the morning, right? So what I suggest is basically small habits, like as soon as you wake up, if you can get some sun exposure, ideal, right? 5 to 10 minutes, whatever you can, is going to make a big difference, right? That tells the body that it's time to wake up, right? That helps with sleep cycles. That helps with sleep quality. That helps and gives the body, again, more signals. Remember, going back to our ancestors, they woke up because the sun was up, right? The other thing that I tend to suggest, if you can, wait an hour, 90 minutes to take your first caffeine boost, right? Whatever you like having, that energy drink, that coffee, let the body wake up naturally, right? And then you can start with that, doing something easy as some mobility, as some stretching, right? In the morning, like going for walks. As soon as wake up, I go and walk my dogs, right? That's something that I build as a routine. I get some sun exposure, right? I get some movement that helps me a lot. Um, Keeping that consistent wake up time. How many times have you listened to your coach talking about bedtime and waking up time? Set it up, right? Have a plan. And the other thing, if you can avoid text messages, work messages, emails, phone, right, in general, as soon as you wake up, is going to be really, really important so we don't get those cortisol spikes. And again, we let the body wake up naturally, okay? Common sleep myths. Shout out to Jesse. Like he usually does these live trainings, but I'm going to go through them really quick. So number one, more sleep is always better. No, right? Quality and consistent matter more than simply getting 12 hours of sleep, right? Number two, I can catch up on the weekends, right? If we're getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep during the week, and then well, I get like 10. No, you cannot reduce sleep debt, right? Sorry, you can reduce, but you cannot reverse it. Like it can help, but you cannot catch up in the weekend, right? Everything that we are missing is not something that we can recover moving forward. The one that I mentioned before, how alcohol helps me sleep, fall down, to sleep easily, right? Relax. It destroys the REM. I don't suggest it, right? It's going to mess up with your recovery. It's going to mess up with your sleep cycle. No, right? You can do it often, right? I'm not against doing that often, but not drinking to be able to relax and get a good night's sleep. It does not work like that, right? The one that we listen all the time, right? Screens don't affect me, right? It does block your melatonin, right? Remember that desire to go to sleep, that desire to sleep. Um, and the other one, the last one, naps ruin nighttime sleep. Um, so naps can help, right? As long as they are early in the day. If you take like really long naps later in the day or earlier in the day and it starts messing up with your sleep, just avoid those if you can. Again, science says 20-40 minutes naps are going to help you, right? But if it starts messing up with your sleep, just avoid them, okay? What can we start doing tonight, right? Before bed, what can we add in terms of today? So, number one thing, setting up, having a plan, bedtime, waking up time every day at the same time. Listen, it does not need to be perfect right away, it does not need to happen right away. Have the plan. It's going to start improving. Okay, doesn't need to be perfect. If you have a plan, you don't go in autopilot, it's going to start improving moving forward. Always remember, right? Same thing, start small. um, Cutting off screen 60 minutes before bed, as I said. If you can, start with 5, 10, 15, 20. Build it up. Okay, does not need to be perfect, does not need to be every day. We do not need to change everything abruptly, right? But we can give it a try and see if it helps. Keep the room cool and dark, as I mentioned, Scott. Keep it warm. Like, don't worry about that one. And limit the caffeine intake, right? Before 2 p.m., get your coffee if you like it, whatever you like, energy uh, drinks, pre-workout. Start minimizing. If you tend to have caffeine really late, start with 1 hour less. If you tend to have it at 7 p.m., target to do it at 6 p.m. Whatever, right? Start small. Don't change everything all of a sudden. And personal suggestion is got share, right? Take a shower before bed, do some stretching, do some meditation, some reading, whatever you like, whatever you're open to try is going to help, right? And if it doesn't, give another try to something else. Okay? Who's going to try something? Who's going to give it a try of any of these tonight? Who's going to apply them?
Tomas. Uh, I like how you said don't try to throw everything all at the same time because you know me, like I try to do that more often than not, where I just like, I'm going to do everything all at the same time and then it doesn't work. But what you're saying is make a routine, make small changes. And then once that changes become a routine, add another change and so forth. But like I've done quite a few of these and I've seen improvements as I introduce them one at a time and create that new positive routine and make it my new day to day. It actually is good.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, exactly. Right. Start with one, start small. Don't change too much. You're going to get overwhelmed. We don't want that. We want to keep moving forward. We want to improve. E also, he has the tattoo 1% better each day, right? That's something to always keep in mind. Progress, move forward with whatever it is. Scott sharing that he might try the cool temperature. Well, I don't know if I'll change it, but you can give it a try. So, client of the month, he's not here. He had church. Going to send him. He's I'm going to send him the recording. So, Michael Mitchell. We've been working for some time now. Um, all my clients know him. He sends all the time photos and motivates everyone in the community. He does not miss a single one in terms of the workouts that he sends to the community, and he encouraged everyone. Like, he's doing great. He's actually starting to build some muscle. So we are at 205 right now. So he's looking even a little bit better than that. So congratulations, Mike. And the last one, book of the month, right? Speaking of sleep, I have it here. So basically, this book, it has another like cover because this one is in Spanish. But basically, it's a book that you can read in the order that you like and the topic that you want. So you do not need to follow it by the teeth. You can pick whatever topic that you like, but it's Matthew Walker. He has a PhD. He has been studying sleep for over 20 years, something crazy like that. And it mentions the importance of health, energy, and performance, like basically how sleep affects and helps with that. And as I said, it's a guide to understand a little bit better the science behind sleep. And that's all I have for you tonight. Questions? I'm going to go through the chat really
Oh
quick.
yeah, dope job, Tomas.
Thank you.